So, in the mid to late 2000s, Sonic has had a bit of a reputation crisis, let's just say, with bad games after bad games after bad games, to the point where people just don't care about giving the games a proper shot. I mean, you know something is wrong when Unleashed got a lower score than '06. People just don't care about Sonic anymore because of the disaster that is '06. People just doesn't care about giving the games they might have liked a proper shot. At this point, there needs to be a change. This is their last chance. If they screw this up, Sonic would probably be gone. So, a change in direction was taken. They decided to take Sonic in a more light-hearted way. The story was going to be less serious than what we had for the past few years. The settings are going to be different. There's a new voice cat. Basically, it was sort of rejuvenating the franchise. With the boost gameplay from Sonic Unleashed being well received, they went with that. They also decided to introduce a brand new power-up creature called the Wisp. This game will take place in outer space with Sonic traversing through a bunch of different locations. This game was shaping up to be, well, a video game. Sonic Colors, also known as Sonic Colors, eventually released in November of 2010 for the Nintendo Wii and the Nintendo DS, and it was a critical success, with critics saying that it's the best Sonic game since the Genesis era, and a lot of fans really liking the game. It was praised for being like the classic, quote unquote, with its simplistic level design and its simple story. Realize how I used quotation mark back there? Yeah, that is just the bigger picture. But it's also somewhat of a big thing, just not on the internet, more of a personal thing for people. So really, I guess small picture? I don't know. But anyway, while a lot of fans are happy, a lot of fans also felt alienated. This is something that will get worse as the meta-era progresses. Specifically 2013, but we're not there yet. So let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Anyways, does Sonic Colors really take the series back to its roots? Or does it misunderstand what made the old game so special? Well, I guess let's find out. Before we start, I just want to address that we're only looking at the Wii version for this video. I'll review the DS version someday, just not now. Let's start with the plot of Sonic Colors. And right off the bat, it's pretty basic and lighthearted and not good. Lighthearted isn't inherently bad in itself. Sonic Heroes, for example, have a pretty basic and lighthearted plot, but it works. It doesn't have plot points that conflict with past entries. The characters are written well, and I will admit that it's a good thing to take a break from the dark plot. Keyword is break, not that important for this video in particular, but keep that in mind for the next couple of videos. And the premise itself is actually kinda decent. Oh yeah, by the way, they hired new writers, Ken Pontac and Warren Graff, which will stay in the series until it forces. The premise for the story actually isn't bad. Dr. Eggman stole a bunch of aliens for an interstellar amusement park, so Sonic must stop him. Not bad. However, a good premise can only do so much if the execution is bad. The main problem with the story are the characters and the joke. Let's start with the characters. Sonic is a free-spirited hedgehog that has an attitude. He usually jokes around about stuff, however, when the situation demands it, he's able to take things seriously. This is where Colors fail. Sonic in this game just does not care about anything going on around him. One example is this scene.
I know you're trying to be clever with this whole amusement park pun thing, but it's just coming off lame. Just say you're going to destroy us and stop embarrassing yourself.
Trust me though, this gets much worse in future games. Now, let's move on to Tails. Tails in previous game is this humble, smart boy who looks up to Sonic. In the adventure game, he had an arc of believing in himself. Colors just turned him into a whiny, show-off boy, which is even worse with the context that Tails literally does nothing in this game. The last character I want to talk about is Dr. Eggman. In previous game, he's this goofy yet threatening villain. Colors, however, took the goofy aspect of him a little too much and just forgot the threatening aspect of him. There's also Eggman's henchman, Orban and Cubot, which segues right into the joke. And I don't know, I almost never laughed at the jokes of Sonic Colors. I don't know if Montauk's other work have better jokes, I've never seen any of them. However, when speaking of Sonic Colors, the jokes are just cringy stuff. I mean, none of this ever gets to the point of, whoa, I've got two words for you, diet and exercise. But they are still just not funny. Now obviously, comedy is very subjective, so if you do enjoy them, I respect your opinion, but this just doesn't work for me. But what about when the writers tries to add stakes? Well, one example I can think of is when Eggman gets a hold of Tails' mind, and then literally in the same cutscene it saw. What was the point of this? It literally had nothing to the story. But I digress. Now, let's talk about the presentation. The first thing I want to talk about is the voice acting because, well, we were just talking about the story, so why not? This game introduced a new voice cast. Well, actually it was Sonic Rewriter, but we don't talk about that. So, we got Roger Craig Smith as Sonic, Kate Higgins for Tails, and Mike Pollock quit for kids to continue voicing Eggman. Now, Mike Pollock is so great as Eggman.
Fine. You're so smart, robot. You take care of this mess. Release the big boy.
Roger is okay, I guess. Never really been the biggest fan of his Sonic voice, but it ain't bad.
Didn't you see? I absorbed those aliens and got powered up with like some kind of wild energy.
Kate Higgins is a great Tails voice if you ask me, and I don't know, this just feels the most natural compared to the previous Tails actress, and it also sounds a lot better.
Gotta connect the frames.
The graphics, well, wow. Previous Wii Sonic games looks good. Colors, however, I think is one of the best looking games on Nintendo Wii. It's right up there with Super Mario Galaxy. And on Dolphin, with the right settings, this game looks wonderful. I really hope the remaster rumors are true, because it has the potential to be the definitive way to play Colors, with the best graphics and more accessibility. And I think that kinda spoils my thoughts on the game. So, a little bit of an editor's note here. Colors Ultimate, a remaster of Color, has recently been announced, and I'm disappointed by how it looks. The new features are, I'm gonna try to be optimistic about them. So I've heard that somewhere, I'm not sure if this is true, but I've heard somewhere that the tail save feature would be not optional, but it's just in the main game, and I don't like that. Okay, so now is the time that we talk about the soundtrack, and boy do I love the soundtrack of this game. It just sounds so catchy. Once again, not a music guy, so I'm just gonna play some of my favorites. Alright, I think it's time we get into the gameplay proper. First off, the controls. The 3D Sonic games after the adventure games have failed to replicate the smoothness of those games in one way or another. Colors is no exception in that regard. The acceleration isn't bad, but it kinda feels off. I mean, I know I made it sound like it is bad, but it really isn't. It doesn't take long to get used to. And there's also the boost. Plus the level design is made with this in mind, so it isn't a huge deal. Now, the main gimmick of Colors is of course the Wisp. The Wisps can grant Sonic some powers, of course. In this game, there are 7 Wisps. white, yellow, cyan, blue, green, pink, purple. The Wisps have been criticized for breaking the face and or being not fun to use. Me personally, I'm kinda mixed on them. Some are fun to use like the laser, drill, and frenzy. Others are, well, as I said, slow and the face breaker. So yeah, when used properly they can be fun, but overall they're a mixed bag. Now on to the level design. Despite being a successor to Sonic Unleashed, the level design between both games is very different. While Unleashed is more speed focused, Colors is a bit more platforming heavy. The game has been criticized for having very blocky platforming section, and yeah, some of the sections here are very blocky. Sometimes as blocky as the Game Gear games. Now, is that difference bad? Well, let's find out. I guess that's how it goes. This game has often been criticized for bad pacing, and I must agree. So this game has 7 locations, and every location with the exception of the final location have 6 acts, and I think that single-handedly explains the problem with this game's pacing. Some of the acts just repeat stuff from previous acts, some are literally 20 seconds long, which is just too short for Sonic level, and some of the acts are filled with boring gimmicks that just slows the game down, and it's just boring. These springs, my god, these golden springs. When you see these, you know you're going to have a bad time. They move at a snail's pace, and you have to stay on them for upwards of 3 minutes. Who thought this was a good idea? Now, while I did complain a bit back there, when Sonic Colors is good, it's really good. All of the Act 1s are fun, and most of the Act 2s are also fun. They're fast-paced, have some decent platforming, and it requires the player to be attentive. It's what I want from a Sonic game. It's just that, to get to the good parts of Sonic Colors, you need to experience the boring part first. With all that said, how are the bosses? Simply put, they are some of the worst bosses I've ever fought in a Sonic game. Maybe not as bad as the bosses in Lost World, but that's being too generous. First off, the second half of the boss literally just reuses previous boss, with next to no change other than skin difference, I guess. And the bosses are so crushingly dull. The boss for Tropical Resort and Planet Wisp is so awful, I'm not even gonna waste my breath on them. The boss for Sweet Mountain and Aquarium Park is just boring. I literally cannot go more in depth because that's just it. Boring. The only boss that is sorta decent is the boss for Starlight Carnival and Asteroid Coaster. And the final boss. The boss for Starlight Carnival and Asteroid Coaster requires you to chase it and hit the many weak spots that it have. Not bad, I guess. Speaking of which, let's talk about the endgame. After destroying all of the generators, an earthquake happened, or I guess big quake. I don't know, and then for some reason Sonic and Tails just doesn't care about what's going on. Okay, if your characters don't care about what's going on, why should I? And slow terminal velocity begins. Act 1 just a boring auto runner, nothing more, nothing less. After that, when they try to get into the shuttle, Dr. Eggman appears with a machine that uses all the Wisp energy. And then Sonic just cracks jokes. I'm not even gonna waste my breath for the rest of this cutscene. Act 2 is the boss, which is actually kinda decent. It has 2 phases, although nothing much changes. It's another auto runner boss, where you chase it to homing attack it, and it shoots projectiles at you. Nothing to really write home about, but I'll take it. After that, a black hole chases Sonic, and so Act 3 begins. Act 3 isn't really a stage as much as it is a 20-second set piece for the ending. Anyways, after that, the Wisp saves Sonic, and yeah, that's the end of the game. Now, with that out of the way, it's time to talk about the side content. First off, Dread Star Rings. Every stage in the game has 5 of these hidden, with the exception of Terminal Velocity. And I think they are well hidden. Some of these have obvious locations while hard to get, and others are the opposite, and some combine both ways. The reward for collecting them is the access to Game 1. They are extra challenges and are very boring. These are some of the most basic and blockiest platforming I've ever seen. Seriously, NES games have more depth than these. You just jump and press right, and I know that's basically what platformers are all about, but other games usually add more depth and challenge to make the game actually fun, and the best parts of the game land are the stages, which literally rips off the layout of Sonic 1. I don't like that, but at least they're not so boring. But anyways, after that, it's time to talk about ranking system. Ever since Adventure 2, this is a tradition that most Sonic games afterward will follow. And I think it's a good thing when it's done well. I repeat, when it's done well. In Adventure 2, for example, the game rewards skillful play with NES rank. It wasn't just simply reaching the end of the stage without dying. It was whether or not you can defeat a bunch of enemies, do cool stuff for bonus point, and get to the end of the stage quickly without dying, or in Knuckles or Rudy's case, get all of the emerald pieces. In Sonic Colors, I suppose this is what they're going for, but I think there might have been an oversight. You see, Wisps can get you bonus point, and a lot of them also respawns. You know what that means? Yep, spam, baby. Credit where credit is due, the levels where there are no wisps can be challenging, so that's something. Now with all that said, what about rewards? First off, beating the game land grants you supersonic and he's pretty fun to play as. He has unlimited boost and higher jump, and also no access to wisps, but personally I don't mind it. But what made this so important back then is that this was the first time Supersonic was playable in normal 3D Sonic game, and Sonic overall since 1994 with, well, technically it was Sonic 4, but you know what, never mind, that game doesn't exist. So what about the S ranks? Well, you get nothing. Well, there is an S rank tally on the world map, which is better than Unleash. No reward, I guess, but I would appreciate something more. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, this game omitted the Upworld. I think the concept of Upworld ain't bad, and it's weird that I decided to omit them after the best one yet. At the end of the day though, it's fine. So, my overall thoughts on Sonic Colors. Well, it's a fun game. There are some stuff about it that I don't like. However, overall, I think the positives outweigh the negatives. Now, in terms of being like the classics, I'm kind of mixed on that. Obviously, it's a very different game, and when the critics said it was being like the classics, they were probably referring to it as, oh, Sonic is great again for, like, I don't know, since 1994. But either way, I don't think that this game is really like the classics. It's just more of a solid game than, you know, like the classics. That said, the next video is gonna be a bit more positive, even if you consider this already positive. Next time we're taking a look at a very important game for me. That game being Sonic Generations. I'll see you then.